In the industry, everyone knows I have Carolina completely under my control. The moment she became a movie queen, she kissed a male actor in front of everyone. She said, "Director Oscar Wang, I'm not very familiar with him outside of work, so please don't associate unrelated people with me, thank you." As she wished, I removed myself from her life. Later, she came to me, kneeling with red eyes, pleading for forgiveness. I laughed. Didn't she want to break up? Now she's lost her fame and fortune, but she's gained love. The spotlight now shines on the award stage. A woman in a white dress walks up, a perfect smile gracing her face. I am so grateful to someone who has been with me every step of the way to this point. I couldn't hide my smile. The woman on stage is my girlfriend. Over 3 years, I nurtured her from an unknown actress to a household name, and now a movie queen. Loving someone is like tending to a flower. I gave her the best care, and she blossomed into my proudest achievement. The only thing that bothers me is that my girlfriend turned down my public proposal because of her career. Listening to her speech, I thought, is she finally going to make our relationship public today? She said, "He is my mentor, my friend, and someone indispensable to my growth. He is—" My smile froze as I watched my movie queen girlfriend, holding her trophy, confessing her love for another actor with deep affection. Someone asked, "Miss Carolina, it's said that you've always relied on director Oscar Wang's support. Is there any truth to rumors of a close relationship?" She flashed an innocent smile and replied, "Director Oscar Wang and I aren't very familiar outside of work, so please don't associate unrelated people with me. Thank you." 3 years of care and companionship, all dismissed by one casual sentence. My mind was foggy as I stumbled home. After sitting alone for a while, I finally drifted off to sleep. The next morning, I woke up to an overwhelming number of messages, causing my phone to lag. Although Carolina never publicly acknowledged our relationship, I never hid it from my colleagues in the industry. Now, after everything, they all sent their condolences. I rubbed my still red eyes and responded to each one, "Don't worry, I'm fine." I rejected their suggestions to blacklist Carolina, stating that we had nothing to do with each other anymore. If we meet in the future, we'll just keep it professional. After sending the replies, I splashed cool water on my face and took a deep breath. I, Oscar, have always been able to love fiercely, but also move on ruthlessly. When I first set my eyes on Carolina, I went against my friend's advice and insisted on mentoring her. Now, I accept what has happened. It's just a stumble. After falling, I can get up, dust myself off, and keep moving forward. I deleted Carolina from my contacts and blocked all communication channels. Since yesterday, she hasn't sent a single message, and frankly, I don't need her to. After scheduling the audition time at the Film City with my assistant, I tidied up and left. The Film City was buzzing with people, some casting curious glances after hearing the rumors. I ignored them all and quickly made my way to the set. After graduation, I became a director. With my talent and family connections, I quickly gained recognition, and my films always hit the mark. My assistant came over, showing me a new post on Carolina's official account. She had written, "Thank you all for your concern. Even though Jasmine and South City Storm are filming at the same time, I will work hard on both. This is my first collaboration with Paul since our announcement. Please support us." At the end, she tagged the official accounts of both productions. My assistant had a subtle expression. Jasmine is a project Carolina just accepted, and South City Storm is the movie I'm currently working on. For the past 3 years, Carolina has always been my leading actress. Her post implies she still thinks I'll let her continue as the lead in South City Storm. I shrugged and told my assistant, "It doesn't matter. Let her post whatever she wants. We'll pick our actors and shoot our film." Honestly, I'm curious. Why does Carolina think that after what she said at the award ceremony yesterday, I would still treat her like I did before? Does she think I'm some fool who enjoys being cheated on? The audition for the female lead and Carolina's Facebook post were released one after another, quickly attracting a crowd of sharp-nosed journalists. As I stepped outside for some fresh air, cameras were shoved in my face. Miss Carolina has publicly announced she will be the female lead in South City Storm. Why is the audition still going on? If the female lead is already decided, isn't continuing the audition a waste of time? The provocative questions made the auditioning actors hesitate. I stopped and shot a cold look at the reporter. Do you know who I am? He instinctively took a step back and lowered his voice. Is that even a question, Director Oscar? I smirked. Let me ask you, what is this place? He stuttered. Well, this is... He realized what I meant and lowered his head. I looked at the eager team of reporters and said loudly, I am the director. This is my crew, my territory. I make the decisions. Everything is done according to my rules. Are you trying to teach me how to do my job? I added pointedly. If you have nothing to do, go home and rest. Stop trying to stir up drama. When I returned to the crew and checked my phone, I saw another post. Paul wrote, Spending time with the one you love is a joy. Today, I hope Carolina spends more time with me, so please don't disturb her with irrelevant people and things. The attached photo showed Carolina smiling as she fed a grape to Paul's mouth. I was speechless. They clearly knew how to leverage the hot topic. While I was the one being disturbed, they acted like innocent victims, stirring up gossip. What a bunch of nauseating people. The trending topic kept gaining momentum, and everyone wanted to know who the female lead in my new movie would be. That night, Carolina began a live stream. She happily interacted with her fans at first, but halfway through, she frowned when someone commented, Carolina, aren't you supposed to be the female lead in South City Storm? Why is the audition still going on? Her eyes narrowed slightly as she smiled and said, The normal process has to be completed. Oscar told me. She stopped mid-sentence, as if realizing something, and then closed her mouth, acting as if she had to keep a secret. Carolina's hesitant manner only fueled the audience's excitement, convincing them that the audition was merely a formality. However, the audition continued without being affected by their opinions. Whenever someone nosy tried to interfere, I would close my black notebook and, with a slight smirk, reply, Why don't you take a seat in the director's chair and make the decisions yourself? I didn't respond directly, but Carolina interpreted my silence as agreement. She grew bolder and more frequent in her public appearances with Paul. First, they were spotted at the airport, and then later on a food street in Sanya. In the photos captured by the paparazzi, they walked together along the Golden Beach in swimsuits, smiling at each other under the sunlight. Fans went wild, calling them the perfect couple of the century. Within just 2 days, both Carolina and Paul capitalized on the attention, securing multiple endorsement deals and script offers. The audition lasted 3 days, and at a crucial moment, I decided to choose a completely unknown girl as the lead actress. On the 3rd day, when I caught a glimpse of the girl standing behind the curtain, her sparkling eyes and a gentle flush on her face, much like the first light of dawn, I immediately knew she would be the one to lead South City Storm. After holding back for 3 days, my assistant couldn't wait to post on Facebook, Welcome the lead actress to the South City Storm family. Work starts tomorrow, at Lee. The audience, who had been anxiously waiting, rushed to check the post, and were shocked when they saw the name that was tagged. They started to discuss in disbelief. It's not Carolina. Who is this? Do you know her? Feeling betrayed, they flooded Carolina's Facebook page, demanding an explanation. She quickly went live again. With her eyes rimmed in red, Carolina looked into the camera and apologized. I'm sorry for disappointing everyone. I understand Oscar's decision if he thinks I'm not good enough. I just hope he isn't still angry. Paul gently patted her on the shoulder and sighed, looking utterly heartbroken. Everything between them was implied, yet unspoken. On one side, we had a movie queen, and on the other, an unknown girl who had only been an extra. The audience, thinking they had figured out the truth, became enraged. Stop being angry. Is Carolina the victim of some backdoor dealings? This is so unfair. My assistant, sitting on a wooden stool on the set, turned a sickly shade of green with rage and said, We've been too focused on auditions to respond, and now they're playing the victim. They have no shame. Watching him roll up his sleeves, ready to take action, I couldn't help but chuckle. This only made him angrier. You're laughing. You should have shut them down 3 days ago. I shrugged casually. This is free publicity. Why turn it down? If we let this opportunity slip, we'd have to pay for promotions ourselves later. Putting aside everything else, I'm still thankful for the drama they've stirred up. South City Storm hasn't even begun filming, but it's already widely recognized. Anyone with a phone already knows about the project. All right, you're the director. Can I fire back now? My assistant waved his phone in front of me. I nodded. His eyes lit up, and the next second he was shouting, "Ah! Who posted before me? Let me see. Isabel? Wait, is that Sophia?" At his words, everyone turned to the girl in the corner. She looked up innocently and blinked. Did we have a rule about posting on Facebook? The assistant was speechless. No. I grinned, watching the scene unfold, and pulled out my phone to check Facebook. Sophia, the lead actress I had chosen, may appear soft, but she was more than capable of holding her own. In just a few minutes, she had already posted 18 updates. "Hello, Senior Carolina. Didn't you say our director had nothing to do with you? If it's not related, why bring up Oscar? Who are you anyway? When did the director ever say he was going to cast you in his new film? What gives you the right to expect that? Is the director your father?" Each post tagged Carolina, backing up her statements with proof. The fans went quiet, retreating into silence. This girl is fierce, really putting Carolina in her place. 10 minutes passed without a single response from Carolina or Paul. I shook my head in disbelief. It's strange I ever liked someone like that. A voice came from beside me. What's so strange about it? Even the greatest heroes have struggled to resist beautiful women. I turned to see Sophia still nearby. She smiled. Although I wouldn't call her beautiful, maybe director Oscar just had a moment of weakness. I raised an eyebrow and reminded her, "I'm your boss." So? Keep talking and I'll dock your pay. Fine, you win. Just then, an unknown call came through on my phone. I raised an eyebrow. This number was private, known to only a select few. It could only be. I answered, but the line was silent. Wrong number. If you don't speak, I'm hanging up. The person on the other end panicked, and then I heard a familiar voice. Oscar? Do we really have to do this? It was Carolina. What do you mean? I asked, hesitating. Her tone softened as she spoke, like the way she used to when we were together. Even if we can't be together, can't we at least be friends? I couldn't help but laugh. Be friends? Friends? What do you mean even if we can't be together? You're making it sound like I was your fool, constantly trying to win you over, and now I'm angry because you're with someone else. This is cheating, Carolina. If you want to keep enjoying the perks I used to give you, just say so. Do you think acting like the benevolent one is clever? Let me be clear. This is not about being magnanimous. I'm doing this because I want your downfall to be as spectacular as possible. Got it? If so, get ready. Carolina's voice sharpened. Let me tell you, Paul is the son of the president of the Wang Group. You can't beat him. Before I could respond, a soft female voice beside me spoke gently. Brother, are you still on the phone? I've been waiting for you. There was a brief silence on the other end, followed by an explosion. Who's there with you, Oscar? You betrayed me. I rubbed my ear, speechless, and hung up. When she called back, I blocked the number. After finishing these actions, I looked at Sophia. Nice acting. You've really got a knack for this. Sophia smiled. Of course. I shook my head, resigned. Just as I was about to leave, something hit me. Paul is the son of the president of the Wang Group? How come I didn't know this? Thinking it over, I pulled out my phone and sent a message. Dad, do you have an illegitimate son? When I returned to the set, my assistant rushed over, his face green with frustration. What did Carolina post this time? I asked, amused. He showed me his phone. Thank you all for your concern. I want to focus more on my work and improve my acting skills. Please don't pay attention to other matters and look forward to my new works. The picture was a sweet photo of her with Paul. My assistant's face turned even greener. She has the nerve to talk about acting. It was all thanks to you. He paused, then added, Luckily, you finally gave up on her. Filming for South City Storm was progressing smoothly. It's a spy drama, and the female lead, Sophia, portrays an ordinary person who becomes embroiled in a high-stakes mission. Once she realizes its significance, she throws herself into the role without hesitation. On camera, her eyes express a range of emotions, from the fear-driven hesitation to her noble intentions, which gradually transform into an unwavering resolve, fueled by her rage against evil. This internal struggle, combined with her emotional transformation, deeply resonated with the audience. I couldn't help but let out a sigh. Comparing acting skills, it seemed, was pointless. On Carolina's side, she and Paul frequently posted photos and updates from the set, gaining a loyal following of CP fans. The earlier drama began to fade from people's minds. In interviews, Carolina continued to smile warmly. Director Oscar said his female lead has talent. "Miss Carolina, do you think you have talent?" she was asked. She tilted her head slightly, covering her mouth as if shy. "Well, why not?" Watching this interview, our entire team laughed. Meanwhile, Carolina's fans were quick to challenge Sophia, daring her to prove herself through their work. Sophia's only response came in the form of 4 simple words: "As you wish." The film took 8 months to shoot, and by the time it was ready for release, almost a year had passed. Throughout that period, Carolina's fans kept pushing the narrative of competition between the two films, creating a significant buzz. She and Paul continued to post photos together, steadily growing their CP fan base. In contrast, Sophia kept her focus entirely on the craft. Every time I saw her, she was either rehearsing her lines or discussing her role with senior actors. Finally, the day of the movie release arrived. In a strategic move, both films premiered on the same day. The audience flocked to see Carolina's Jasmine first. Reviews came in swiftly. Some people hesitated for a long time before tentatively asking, "Am I the only one who thinks it's bad?" The replies flooded in. "What kind of acting is this? The lead's face is so stiff, like it's AI. She didn't capture the essence of the pure white Jasmine at all. Is this really what they call a movie queen?" Some die-hard CP fans defended her, saying, "What's wrong with it? The chemistry between the leads is sweet. I loved it." But even their voices were soon drowned out by the harsh criticism. Meanwhile, South City Storm, the film that had been doubted from the very start, was making a powerful comeback. Sophia's portrayal of innocence in the face of the mafia, followed by her intense determination as she embraced her mission, captivated the audience. In the climactic scene, where she sacrifices herself, her eyes redden slightly as she declares she has no regrets. The tear that never fell vanished as she closed her eyes for the last time. The audience erupted in excitement. The media quickly compiled scenes from both films and titled the montage "The Difference in Acting Between a Movie Queen and a Newcomer." Sophia reposted her previous forward response on Facebook, "Thank you for yielding." Her new fans went wild. Unquestionably, Carolina had been thoroughly defeated in this battle. She responded with a single line, "I don't think I did anything wrong." The next day, rumors began to swirl that Paul was the son of the president of the Wang Group. Paul didn't respond directly, but instead, he posted pictures of himself and Carolina on a luxury trip, driving fancy cars to the onlookers. This seemed like a tacit acknowledgement Carolina's crisis was quietly deflected, and CP fans affectionately began calling Paul the Crown Prince, and Carolina the Crown Princess. These titles were so cringeworthy that I felt like digging a hole and disappearing. I glanced over at my assistant and Sophia, both of whom appeared mildly concerned. Sophia spoke up. "Is his father really the president of the Wang Group? Are we going to get crushed just because they bring in the big guns?" I couldn't help but laugh, reassuring them. "Don't worry, I know President Wang. He has a good temperament and wouldn't do something like that." As soon as I finished speaking, my phone rang. I stepped to the corner and answered. A robust voice immediately started yelling on the other end. "Are people blind these days? How do I look anything like him? You brat. Why didn't you tell me about this sooner? No wonder you asked if I had an illegitimate child last time." The voice was so loud, it made my ears itch. I pulled the phone away and rubbed my ear as he continued ranting. "No way I'm going to prove it on Facebook right now." I quickly interrupted. "Hey, Dad, wait! Don't rush. I have a plan." The old man was even more annoyed. "What plan? Don't you see they're slandering you?" I fell silent, realizing how intense the public opinion was. Those people were attacking the South City storm crew just to support their so-called crown prince. It seemed like even the passing dogs would get cursed. I softened my tone. Don't worry, I won't let myself suffer. The old man wasn't pleased. You better not. If you can't handle it, come home. You could have taken it easy, but you had to be a director. He muttered a few more complaints before hanging up. I looked at my phone, a slow smile forming on my face. Meanwhile, Carolina, taking advantage of the situation, secured several more scripts and endorsements. Curious people calculated their schedules, noting that she was now fully booked for the next year. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. See, I told you I chose the right person. I could almost picture Carolina's smug face through the screen. I replied, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. After sending the message, I immediately blocked the number, almost as if to spite me. As soon as I announced our new film would be a historical drama, Carolina quickly declared she had also taken on a role in a historical drama. Sophia, clutching her script to her chest, earnestly promised, I won't let you lose. Just focus on the filming. I chose you for your talent. I paused, signing the contract, and added, don't worry about anything else. Got it, boss, Sophia said, smiling and raising her fists in the air before turning to leave. True to her word, Sophia threw herself into the filming even more seriously, but she still found joy in interacting with others, posting behind-the-scenes clips. In the scattered fragments, she sat on a couch in a white plush cloak, her gaze filled with vulnerability and confusion. As the wind blew, her brow furrowed slightly, as though lost in thoughts of longing, her hand raised as if reaching for something. In that moment, her consciousness seemed to fade with the wind, and her hand fell after a gentle grasp at the void. In the comments, Sophia's personality was entirely different from the noble, cool image she portrayed in the clip. She didn't hide her intentions and directly tagged Carolina. Senior, are you working hard on your filming today? Striving to match your example? Though clearly sarcastic, it was hard to fault her words. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. For a long time, there was no response from Carolina, causing her fans to grow impatient and urge her to speak out. Eventually, some behind-the-scenes footage was leaked, but it turned out to be paparazzi shots. In one scene, she said, "This place is under my protection. Got it?" The very next moment, a traitor's bronze sword pierced the female lead's chest. Her eyes widened in fury as she yelled, "How could it be you?" The caption, responding on Carolina's behalf, added, "Please stop pressuring Miss Carolina for behind-the-scenes footage. She truly doesn't have any. The videos she's shooting need another 2 days and nights of editing before they're ready for release." The silence that followed was telling. Everyone suddenly recalled the stiff, emotionless performance Carolina gave in Jasmine not long ago. Her fans were left speechless, unable to defend her. They looked at Sophia's behind-the-scenes clip and then compared it to their lead actress, whose stiff expression resembled that of a century-old statue. They shrank back in embarrassment. People began discussing other death scenes, the tear that never fell, hesitant words, finally closing their eyes. Our lead's death scene, spitting blood, eyes wide open, shouting to the sky, "How could it be you?" It's just embarrassing. On the opposing team's official Facebook, netizens started questioning their casting choices. Carolina's official account responded, "There are always a few scenes that get stuck in the filming process. Please don't focus solely on the worst moments." Just after this statement, a clip surfaced showing Carolina arguing with the director. She played with her red-tipped fingers and sneered, "So what if my expressions are stiff? So what if I didn't cry? Can't they fix it in post-production? If I have to do everything perfectly, what are they here for? I've always acted this way. If Oscar could handle it, why can't you?" These few words revealed so much that netizens were left stunned. A comment appeared. "What do you mean you've always acted like this? I used to praise her acting." Seeing the netizens begin to support me, claiming I'd endured too much, I smiled and instructed my assistant to take the next step. I didn't want to see this irritating person parading around in front of me every day. Various accounts began releasing raw footage from Carolina's past shoots. For example, there was a sensual bathing scene in the lake, with unedited footage showing her elbows awkwardly placed, like a puppet on strings. The ethereal and agile back view turned out to be a stand-in. Her dramatic reactions to wire work revealed how I, as the director, had to guide her step by step. The before and after comparisons clearly demonstrated who Carolina truly was and how much effort I had put into supporting her. As everyone began to realize the true extent of her acting limitations, all the scripts she had been offered were withdrawn. Producers admitted they didn't have the skills to deal with such a great star. Netizens began to question, if Carolina is this bad, why did director Oscar still support her? With that effort, he could have made several more films. Could this be love? Remember, at the award ceremony, Carolina denied any relationship with me. After that, we went our separate ways. Netizens dug deeper, nearly uncovering every detail of my private life. I sighed, rubbed my face, and once again blamed myself for being such a poor judge of character. In the midst of my public humiliation, Sophia posted on Facebook, "Everyone has a past. Let's not dwell on it. Director Oscar values the future more." As a result, netizens seemed to have an epiphany after reading her post, agreeing with her. That's right, that's right. They began to curse Carolina. "Dirty thing, stay away and protect our director Oscar. Director Oscar has nothing to do with this person, don't spread falsehoods." Carolina's reputation was thoroughly ruined. Her integrity was questioned. Her acting skills deemed inadequate. Soon, the award committee announced they would review her accolades, and as a result, she lost all the honors she had earned in the last 3 years. At this critical moment, she changed her phone number and sent me a message. "I haven't lost. It's just the entertainment industry. Once I become the daughter-in-law of the Wang family, I won't need to work." I looked at the invitation to the Wang Group's 60th anniversary gala in my hand and shook my head. Was it really that easy? I doubted it. With her endorsements and scripts gone, though the company hadn't officially terminated her contract, Carolina was essentially unemployed and almost blacklisted. She dropped the pretense, becoming an internet wife and publicly flaunting her relationship with Paul. She posted 2 updates on Facebook. "Paul is preparing our wedding. We're about to attend the Wang Group's 60th anniversary gala. Have you ever seen such an event?" Coincidentally, the Wang Group announced that this year's gala would allow some media journalists to participate. From Carolina's perspective, Paul was supporting her and promoting their wedding. In the lounge, I knocked on the door before entering. The moment Sophia saw me, her face lit up, reminding me of the proud tuxedo cat I used to pet at the park. "Director Oscar, it's rare for you to visit," she said. I smiled and handed her the invitation. "I happen to need a date. Miss Sophia, would you be willing?" Sophia opened the invitation, reading aloud with rising excitement. "The Wang Group's 60th anniversary gala? You're going too?" "Yes, and there's going to be quite a show." I nodded. "So, Miss Sophia?" Before I could ask again, she placed her hand in my outstretched palm. Her eyes sparkled with joy, and her mouth couldn't hide her smile, though she pretended to be aloof, tilting her chin up. "Then I reluctantly agree to be your date." The gala arrived quickly. The Wang Group released a statement announcing they would reveal an important matter at the event, the identity of the president's son, who had been the subject of much speculation. Carolina was certain it was Paul and was extremely pleased. At the gala, as soon as Sophia and I got out of the car, we ran into Carolina waiting at the entrance. Her eyes widened as if deeply betrayed. You... Sophia, with a faint smile, placed her soft hand on my arm, her cheek close to my shoulder. She blinked at Carolina. "Senior Carolina, why are you stopping me and my boyfriend?" "Boyfriend?" Sophia nodded naturally. "Yes." Carolina's expression shifted through multiple emotions as more people gathered around. She glared at us angrily. "How can you do this to me? What does she have that I don't?" She grabbed my arm, but I immediately pulled away. Even so, she put on a deeply wronged look, showing she still had some acting skills. At that moment, a slightly mocking voice called out, "Oscar, you came too." I turned and saw Paul approaching, arm in arm with a middle-aged woman, looking calm. "There's no need for your concern, Wang family heir Paul," I replied with a playful smile, locking eyes with him. He blinked uncomfortably but quickly composed himself. You can laugh now, but once you step inside, you'll see who the real clown is. As he spoke, Paul absently stroked his smooth chin, as if twirling an invisible mustache. I shook my head, shifting my attention to the woman beside him. She wore a simple cotton blouse that had faded with time, and her pants were slightly rolled up at the cuffs, as though they'd been through countless washes. Her makeup was minimal, and signs of aging were visible on her face. Her hair was a bit untidy, and her eyes darted nervously, yet they sparkled with excitement. She was undoubtedly the one I had assumed. Before I could say a word, Paul wrapped an arm around Carolina's shoulders, displaying an affectionate gesture. Carolina, sorry for the delay. Today's an important day, so I brought my mother along. I hope you don't mind meeting her like this. Of course not. Carolina immediately leaned into Paul, exuding an air of demureness. She turned to the woman beside him. Auntie, it's nice to meet you. I'm your son's girlfriend. He must have mentioned me. The woman gave a slight nod but only murmured, Girlfriend? Huh, girlfriend. And fell into silence, her gaze fixed straight ahead. The tension in the air was palpable. Unexpectedly, Paul suddenly changed the topic, raising his voice. I know you can't let go of Carolina, but please stop following us. How did you even find us? This isn't the place for your drama. His words caused heads to turn in our direction. Before I could respond, Sophia jumped in loudly. Do you have no shame? You can't even control your girlfriend and are stopping us at the entrance, openly flirting with my boyfriend in front of me? Are you sick? There are so many security guards here. Before Paul could retort, Sophia grabbed an unwilling security guard and pulled him into the situation. Brother, don't be scared. Just tell the truth. Everyone's watching, and they won't harm you. The Wang family can't bully people in broad daylight. There's surveillance here. If they try to twist the story, our director will back you up and bring them down. I scratched my head, feeling helpless. Was Sophia really trying to expose me? The security guard, seemingly encouraged by her words, steadied his gaze and responded, Mr. Paul, it is indeed your girlfriend who has been harassing them. The crowd murmured, and Paul was momentarily stunned, stammering, You, unable to form a complete sentence. I said, Paul, my advice, if you're unsure about something, don't speak too soon. If you're uncertain, investigate and verify first, or else, before I could finish, a sharp slap echoed through the air. Paul's mother, her face contorted with anger, had slapped Carolina. I can't stand people like you, unfaithful and disloyal. Please, Auntie, listen to me. It's not what you think, Carolina pleaded. The scene turned chaotic. Sophia winked at me and said, You guys catch up. We're heading in. Bye. Inside, Sophia was still grinning, practically radiating excitement. Are you that happy? I asked, curious. Of course, she hummed. I told you I wouldn't let you lose. So that's what she meant by her earlier words. I couldn't help but smile and gently tapped her head. What are you thinking about all the time? She pouted slightly, holding her head, but quickly brightened up again. We slowly moved away from the chaos, walking further and further away. Hey, I said you were my boyfriend just now. You won't be mad, right? No. The gala began soon after. From a distance, I saw Carolina looking disheveled, a visible handprint on her face. She had calmed down a bit and now sat with a cold expression beside Paul and his mother. Paul, positioned in the middle, looked hopeful, despite the melancholy in his eyes, while Carolina blushed and stared at her phone. Moments later, I received a text. How could you humiliate and betray me like this, Oscar? Do you have no heart? Just wait. Today I'll make sure you pay back 100-fold. Sophia, standing beside me, waved her hand in front of my face, unimpressed. Wow, Director Oscar seems to care a lot about her, she remarked casually. Do you want me to bring her over so you can talk? I gave her a pointed look, making her turn away in slight embarrassment. Smiling, I replied, No need. I'm just watching a show. Halfway through the event, the host announced, Next up, we have our group's president, Mr. Wang, who will be making an important announcement. Paul's eyes lit up instantly, his gaze fixed on the host. He placed his arm around Carolina, his body trembling slightly. a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. A confident, middle-aged man strode onto the stage, taking the microphone from the host. He cleared his throat, eyes bright, and began speaking without hesitation. Recently, I've noticed a lot of media coverage surrounding my son, and it's been gaining more and more attention. So today, I've invited the key person involved in this matter to join us here. He glanced down at the audience, casting a playful look at Paul, who met his gaze with eager anticipation, unaware of what was about to unfold. The president continued, "I'm sure everyone is curious about my son's identity." Under the spotlight, Paul held his mother's hand tightly. The old man paused, letting the suspense build, before saying 3 words, "Oscar." A spotlight suddenly illuminated me. Sophia's composed expression vanished, replaced by shock as she stared at me. Carolina's neck stiffened as she slowly turned to look in my direction. Paul's face drained of color, his gaze fixed on his mother in disbelief. The woman's expression twisted with fury, and she leaped from her seat, shouting, "You heartless man, ingrate! You won't even acknowledge your own son! A tiger doesn't eat its cubs, but look at him! Everyone, is he even human?" She rushed toward the stage, but the prepared police quickly restrained her. She struggled violently, yelling, "I raised our son with such difficulty. He worked so hard to earn your recognition, and you still think he's worthless." The president nodded at the host, and the big screen behind him came to life. The first clip showed a servant banging on the master bedroom door late at night, shouting, "Mr. Wang, open up! Don't you love me anymore? Didn't you say you'd marry me? How can you marry someone else?" She clutched a knife, frantically scratching at the door until the police arrived and took her away. The second clip showed the same servant being forcibly removed by security from the mansion gates. The third clip, 2 years later, showed her holding a newborn baby, grinning manically. "Mr. Wang, this is our son. Won't you acknowledge him?" After the videos, the president explained, "It turns out that Paul's mother suffers from severe delusions. In her youth, she worked as a servant in the Wang household and fantasized about having an intimate relationship with me. While it started as a fantasy in her mind, on the day of my wedding her delusions worsened. I tried to get her medical help, but she was never fully cured. The doctors had warned that as long as she remained close to the Wang family, her condition would only worsen, and indeed, her episodes became more frequent, blurring her grip on reality. Eventually, she stole a baby from somewhere, and in her delusion, she believed the president was a heartless man who had abandoned her and their child. She raised her son with the belief that one day he would prove himself to his father, instilling these misguided ideas in him from a young age, leading Paul to firmly believe in this false narrative. The president then presented a paternity test report, along with a series of medical records and diagnoses. The crowd murmured in disbelief, casting suspicious glances at Paul and Carolina. "I thought Paul was the heir to the group, but who would have guessed he's just a clown?" one whispered. "Carolina can't act. What will she do now? Resort to selling sob stories?" Paul's face turned ashen, his lips trembling, unable to speak. Carolina looked at me with a mix of resentment and regret, staring motionless. I smiled, slowly stood up and walked to the stage. "Hello, everyone. Tonight I'd like to introduce myself under a new identity. I am Oscar, the legitimate son and only son of President Wang. I urge anyone struggling with mental health issues to seek treatment immediately. Now please, leave." I gestured toward the door. "Do I need to personally escort you out?" The group was ushered out amid gasps and whispers. The woman, who had been shouting and struggling, suddenly fell silent when Paul slapped her. Tears filled her eyes. The doors closed, and the night belonged to me. The party continued, and Sophia went to the restroom, leaving me to wait for her by the door. As I stepped outside, I saw Carolina rushing toward me and kneeling in front of me, her eyes bloodshot as if she were clinging to her last hope. "Oscar, you still love me, right? Can we get back together? I was wrong. Please, let's go back to how we were. I truly know I was wrong, and I won't ever do it again." "Wasn't breaking up what you wanted?" I replied calmly. "Now you've lost your reputation but gained love." I paused, looking at her. "For 3 years I nurtured you like a flower. I fertilized, watered, and protected you from the pests, all while you bloomed, thinking this was your natural state. But you forgot that it was the roots, absorbing nutrients that allowed you to grow, and I was the one nourishing those roots. One day, you were cut off and taken away. You thought you had escaped your ugly roots and could reach greater heights, but you forgot, without your roots, you can't survive. Carolina, I despise you, I continued, my voice steady. But don't misunderstand me. I don't hate you for betraying me. I hate your betrayal for being so foolish. Your foolishness made me look like a complete fool. How could I have been so blind, nurturing such a weed? Sophia emerged just in time, wrapping herself around my arm in a mocking tone. Why is my sister kneeling now? Now that she can't be Mrs. Wang, is she here to find a sugar daddy? I lifted my eyes slightly and glanced at Carolina, then turned and walked away with Sophia. Carolina froze, her body stiffened. Staggering to her feet, she tried to follow, but the security quickly restrained her. A desperate scream echoed behind me. Oscar, look at me. I turned just to glance at her. Seeing the flicker of hope in her eyes, I spat harshly into the flower bed by the path. Then, without another word, I continued walking ahead. Later, the fallout from the incident hit hard. Paul and his foster mother were condemned across the entire internet, and Paul was completely blacklisted. Under the weight of lies and reality, his spirit shattered. Soon after, news broke that Paul had killed his foster mother before taking his own life. Carolina, too, vanished from the public eye. The most widespread rumor was that she tried to clear her name but was swindled out of all her assets by a scam group. She ended up living on the streets, dying from depression. Those who treat true hearts as worthless will eventually suffer the consequences. Sophia's side story. Sophia had known about Oscar for a long time. He had been a famous genius during his school days. Unfortunately, by the time she enrolled, Oscar was already interning and rarely came back to school, so they never had the chance to meet. Later, Sophia followed Oscar into the entertainment industry and discovered her long-admired senior Oscar already had a girl by his side. The girl had an innocent smile, and the love in Oscar's eyes for her seemed genuine. Sophia felt heartbroken but chose to respect Oscar's choice. Just when she was about to give up, Sophia discovered the truth. The girl Oscar cherished so much didn't deserve his love at all. Carolina was arrogant, didn't hone her acting skills, and took advantage of Oscar's affection recklessly. Sophia was both furious and heartbroken for Oscar. She decided to bide her time, diligently improving her acting skills and seizing every opportunity, even if it meant playing minor roles. A girl like Carolina would eventually reveal her true nature. She couldn't stay by Oscar's side forever. Sophia kept a close eye on them, silently encouraging herself. Her acting skills improved rapidly, and soon directors began offering her scripts. She refused many, still choosing roles that allowed her to practice while staying close to Oscar. Eventually, the opportunity came. One day, Carolina, holding her Best Actress trophy, confessed her love to Paul publicly. Sophia watched Oscar, feeling her heart break. The light in his eyes was gone, and it seemed as though he might shatter at any moment. She bit her lip and began to doubt herself. If she had told Oscar earlier, would he have been less sad? She wanted Oscar to be happy. Fortunately, Oscar recovered mostly by the next day. Finally, Sophia had the chance to stand in front of Oscar confidently. "Hello, Director Oscar. I'm actress Sophia." Fearless of everything, Sophia never expected Oscar to attend the party as well. When he walked into the lounge with an invitation in hand, she nearly jumped out of her seat. "I happen to need a date. Miss Sophia, would you do me the honor?" Sophia could barely contain her excitement. "Ah, yes, I do. Oscar, I'll do anything you say." If it weren't for Oscar being there, she would have thrown off her shoes and danced barefoot, maybe even performed 2 hours of ballet while spinning 100 circles, so happy. But in front of Oscar, she had to keep her composure. All she could do was hold back, place her hand in his, lift her chin, and say, "Then I'll reluctantly agree to be your date." She wondered if her words might seem a bit too cold. Would he misunderstand? Would he think she didn't truly care? Her mind raced as she tried to make sense of her own emotions. The idea of being Oscar's date, walking into the party together. Oh my, she never even dared to dream of such a thing. Just as they stepped out of the car, they ran into the infuriating Carolina. Sophia's instincts went on high alert. Seeing Oscar do nothing, she found the courage to hold his arm and started, mocking tone and all. "Senior, why are you stopping me and my boyfriend?" "Boyfriend?" she added, watching Carolina's face turn green with anger. It was so amusing. Sophia nodded nonchalantly. "Yes." Carolina's ugly expression twisted with fury. "So what if she has a boyfriend? Why the smug attitude?" Sophia waved happily at Carolina. "Then wait for your boyfriend outside, Senior. We're heading in now. Bye, Tilda." The best person was by her side. This was the light she had cherished for 6 years. What happened with others? She didn't care. "Are you that happy?" Oscar asked, and without a moment's hesitation she answered, "Of course." "I told you I won't let you lose," she added. At that emotional moment, Oscar gently knocked on her head. So annoying, she thought. Her annoyance faded in an instant. This was Oscar, and she chose to forgive him. "I just said you're my boyfriend. You're not angry, are you?" No. Oscar was really the best. She would love him forever, without a doubt. After Chapter 03, she thought she knew Oscar well enough, but it turned out he was the hidden gem. He was actually the son of the president of the Oscar Group. He had kept it a secret so well. She had worried for so long. Sophia felt a flash of anger for a moment, but when she saw Oscar glowing under the spotlight, her heart fluttered with shame. Forget it, she thought. She had a big heart and wouldn't hold grudges against little Oscar. Her eyes sparkled as she stared unblinkingly at him. The party eventually ended, and reporters swarmed around Oscar, just like they had surrounded Carolina a year ago. One reporter asked about Carolina and Oscar's relationship. Oscar smiled politely, responding, "Please don't link unrelated people with me, thank you. It would trouble me greatly." After answering, Oscar looked at her again. "Why aren't you leaving?" Sophia noticed Carolina's pale face on the outside of the crowd and smiled. It felt so good. The bullet Carolina had aimed at Oscar a year ago had finally returned to her. Her story with Oscar was over now. It was her turn, right? Leaving the venue, Sophia still hadn't let go of Oscar's hand. Oscar didn't say anything either. Under the streetlights, they walked side by side, moving farther and farther away.